Hello students, welcome to today's session. The introduction of Unix contains some more commands. So we'll be discussing some more commands from your chapter. So today's session we are going to discuss the commands that is based on file. So in this file based commands, so we are going to discuss the first thing which is called as comparison of two files. So these commands are used to compare two files. Based after comparison, we are going to get some set of results. Okay. Now, what are the commands that we are going to use and what are the things that we are going to study that we are going to discuss one by one? See, first, for example, I have a command called as CMP. So you can see this command called as CMP, which stands for comparison. So it is going to compare two files. So after comparing two files, it is going to compare character by character, or you can also consider it is going to compare byte by byte. Okay. So we are going to see a simple example for this. I'll just go to Sigwin software. So we used to use that Sigwin software. So I'll open the Sigwin terminal. So if I list out some file, we have these set of files. So you have ABC, you have XYZ, all those different files. So I'll just display the first file, which is ABC. You have the content called as hello and Unix. And again, I'll display the content of XYZ. So again, you can see the content of ABC is hello and Unix, and the content of XYZ is also hello and Unix. Now I want to compare the two files. So if I want to compare the two files, I'll be using this file or this command called as CMP. So for CMP command, I'm going to just give the input as CMP followed by, if you see the syntax, we have the option CMP option. You have file 1 and file 2. So this is our syntax. Okay, according to that, I'm going to give the file 1 as ABC and file 2 as XYZ. And if I press enter, now it is going to compare both the files. File A, ABC and XYZ is being compared. So if there is any difference, that difference will be given as our output. Now since both the files are same, the content is same, it is not going to give us any say for example, any output is not given because the files are same. The same thing if I give instead of ABC, I'll give something other file called as expk. And if I press enter, now if you see, it is going to show me the difference. ABC, APK differ character 1, line 1. So there is a difference in first character and first line itself. So that it is going to mention where exactly the difference is between two different files. Similarly, we have one more command called as com command. So this command is used to compare two sorted files. So if you have a set of numbers, numerical values that is stored in file 1 and file 2. If you want to compare those two files, we'll be using this particular command called as common or this compare command. So okay, this is going to compare two sorted files. So where I can use the option as -1 and -2 and -3 or -2 -3 or -3. When you are using -2, suppresses lines unique to file 1. So if you have a set of files, or in the first file whatever information you have, or different information you have in the file 1, it will be suppressed or it will not be displayed. Only the content of file 2 will be displayed. If I use -2, it is going to display only the different value from the file 1, not the file 2. So if you use -3, in that case it is going to suppress lines that are common in both file 1 and file 2. So if both file 1 and file 2, whatever common values are there, that will not be displayed. Only the values or content that is different, that will be displayed. So we'll go to the Sigwin software. So if I use, instead of CMP, I'll use COMM, and I'll give the input as ABC and I'll give the input as EXPK. Now the command is being executed. Now in this case, it is going to give the different values of both ABC and XYZ. See, first, if you consider ABC, so this ABC file will contain some information, like say it has hello as well as XYZ. I mean, say Unix, and EXPS has only three characters called as XYZ. So file 2 is not in sorted order. It is saying that file 1 and file 2 both are not in a sorted order. So as I told you, in if it is in the form of sorted order, we'll be using some column wise values will be given, so that it can be compared with one column and the other column. Okay, so the data should be stored in the form of columns when you're using COMM command. Okay, so this is also used to compare two files. And at last we have one more command called as differ command. This command is used to compare two files line by line. So it is going to compare line by line. So line by line comparison is done by this file called as, or this command called as differ. Okay, now here if you observe, I'll give you a simple example, the same example what we used, what we have executed. I'll write differ space, I'll give the two file names, which is first file name is ABC and second file name is expk, and it is going to find the difference. So it is going to find the difference by listing out, say for example, say we have first line or ABC file. So we have line 0 and A first character, which is second character, we are going to get something like ABCD, and we have XYZ, and here we have Unix. So Unix is present in ABC, whereas in EXPX we have ABCD and followed by XYZ, that is present in this file called as expk. Okay, so it is going to give us the difference that is present between ABC as well as expk. Okay, so that is about these two or three important commands which are used to compare the files. Comparing of two files is done by these three commands called as CMP, COMM as well as difference. Okay, next we'll go for different types of file permissions we have. So file access modes. So what are file access modes is, uh, as I discussed, there are three different types of users in our Unix programming system. One is the owner, next is the group, and other is will consider as others. The person who has created the program will be called as owner, and the members of that file, say you have two or three users of your computer. If you make a group of two members, those two members can access those files. Okay, those group that you make will consider as groups, and others are nothing but other set of users what you have in your for your system. Okay, now here this file, or you can see first character is going to represent the file type. This we have already discussed. Like if it is dot at the beginning, then it will be representing it as a hidden files. If it is a D, it will represent a directory. If it is a hyphen, it is going to represent a say for example ordinary file. This character, first character what you are going to see, if it is a directory, it is going to display D. If it is an ordinary file, it is going to display hyphen. If it is a hidden file, it is going to display a dot. So like that we'll have different types of files. Now that will be the first character is going to represent what? File type. Next after that we are going to have three groups, and each and every three groups will have these three permissions called as read, write as well as execute. So if you observe, by default owner will be having the permission of reading and writing. Okay, so group and others will have by default only the permission for reading. Okay, and in the sense the owner can, who has created the file, he can read the information and he can also edit the information. So these three characters, first three characters, what you can see, these three characters will be representing owner. Next three characters what you are going to see, it will be representing the group, and the last three characters will be representing Say for example, it will be represented by others. So how to give this or read this information? By using this command called as ls minus l. So if you just go through our Cygwin software, I'll just write ls minus l. So if you see, we can see some information here. So in this information, what you got? D, which will represent directory. So I have only one directory. That directory name is bsc. And you can see the permissions, like first three will be representing owner. So and next three will be representing, these three will be representing the group, and after last three will be representing the others. Okay, other type of users. Now as you can see, since it's an ordinary file, it will be represented by hyphen. Okay, so these are the different types of file permissions you have and file different types of users you have. So we have basically these type of users called as owner, group, as well as others. So the person who has created the file will be considered as owner. So permissions used and assigned by the owner. So permissions, whatever the person who has created the file will have the rights to assign the permissions. Like he can assign the permissions like read, write, as well as execute. Okay. So this is the permission that is as a as a members of the group. Members of the group by default is going to have the permission as read. You can see here only read. Okay. So others, other than owner and group members, whatever person who will be accessing the system, those people will consider as others. Now what are the different types of file permissions we have, or file permission set we have? So in file permission set, we have um, something called as read, write, as well as execute. So as I told you that we have read, write, as well as execute. So this each permission group has three set of permissions called as a permission set. As I told you, we have three types of users. One is owner, other one is the group, and after that we have one more thing called as others. Okay, so owner is also considered as user. We'll call it as user, and later we have the other things which is called as group as well as your others. Okay, now coming to the types of permissions we have: read, write, as well as execute. Okay, when you use read, you can only see the data or access the data. You can only see the data, but you cannot make any changes. When I give the permission as a write, the person or the user can make changes or you can modify the data in the file. Execute, you can only execute the program, any program or any file, only you can execute it, but you cannot do any changes to it. So each and every file or directory, whatever you're going to have, will have all these three set of permissions. Okay, one will be for the user, other one will be for the group members, and other one will be for the others. Okay, so first three set will be representing the owner, second three set will be representing the group permission, you can see group permission, and third will be representing the others. Okay, so it will be represented by characters like R, W, X. R stands for read, W stands for write, and X stands for execute. Okay, so that we have seen here in this slide. Next we'll go for the types of permissions. So we have the types of permissions as first one as read, so which is you can only see the content. Okay, so you can only list the when in the case of file, you can only see the content, but you cannot make, and you can only copy, you cannot make any changes. When you give the permission for directory, you can only see the content of the directory, whatever the folders or files that is present in the directory, that you can see. And when you give write permission for files, you can modify the content, that is you can change the content in the file. The same applies with the directory also. You can delete a file or you can execute a file. All those can be done when you apply it for directories. And for execution, when you consider execution, so this files when you give the permission as executable, you can execute a shell program or a shell script, or we have just like our C program, how we execute, we'll have shell script, which is like a programming. So when I give the permission for execute, you can execute that shell script, that particular file. Okay. So and directory, we cannot implement this particular say permission called as execute on directories, because directories cannot be executed. Either you can read the file, or you can just uh, write the file some information like deleting the file, or that can be done on directories, but you cannot execute a directory. Okay. So that you have given some explanation regarding what is directories and how to uh, why it is not used in execute permission. Okay. Next, coming for how to change these permissions. So this changing of permission can be done by using this command called as chmod. Chmod is the command that is used to alter or change the file permission. That is, either you can add or remove the permission. There are two methods. So this method is like symbolic method, and other one method is called as we have absolute method. So we're going to discuss one by one. First, symbolic method, we are going to use first something like this chmod, and U stands for user, plus represents you're adding a permission, X represents what type of permission you are adding, that is X, and it will be followed by the file name. So you can see what are the different types of users you have. U will be representing the owner, G will be representing group, and O will be representing others. So R read, W write, and X execute, that as we have seen. Now if you want to add the permission, I'll be using plus. If you want to remove the permission, I'll be using minus. And if you want to assign permissions, predefined set of permissions, if you want to assign, I'll be using equal to. So if you just go through this example, see I have this different files. Now suppose I have this file called as XYZ. For this file, I want to add execute permission for the group. Okay, then I'll be using the command called as chmod, and it will be followed by the permission. So I want to add for the group. What permission I want to add? I want to add execute permission. And what is the file name? The file name is XYZ. If I press enter, so that particular permission will be applied for that file called as XYZ. If you want to list out, I'll just list out this. You can see in the previous XYZ, we can't see X there in the second group. Okay. Now you can see here we have assigned X here. So after chmod, so this X permission, execute permission, is given to the group for the file name called as XYZ. So that is what happening here. We have a XYZ file where execute permission has been given to the group. So like that, you can add by using plus, you can remove by using minus symbol, and you can assign by using equal to symbol. Okay, this is first type of assigning permissions, which is called as symbolic method. Second method is called as absolute method. So in absolute method, what happens is we're going to give the permissions not in the form of characters, but with the help of some octal numbers, or say numerical values. Since octal numbers, as you know, it will start from 0, it will end at 7. Only 8 symbols will be used, which is nothing but hexadecimal will be 16, and binary will be 2, and octal will be 8 symbols. So we have this 8 symbols here, so which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. When you just remember these three values, which is 0, 1, and 2. 0 will be representing no permissions. Okay, it does not represent any permission. For execute, I'll be using 1. For write, I'll be using 2, and for read, I'll be using 4. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and 4. You just remember these permissions like 1, 2, and 4. If I want to give any permission, say I'll go to the chmod file. Consider I have this file called as file 1. For this file 1, I want to give the permission. Say I want to give the permission for others. The permission I want to give us, like I need to give only um, execute as well as read. I need to give these two permissions. Now what is the value we have is 1 and we have the value as 4. So in that case, we have the file name is file1. So I'll be using chmod, and since we have 3 users, so all the 3 users will have 3 different permissions. Now the first user what we have, that is owner, he has read and write. So the read and write, it will be representing read is 4, write is what? Write is 2. So 4 plus 2 it will be 6. So that will be the first value, okay, for the owner or the user. For group, if I want to give only read, I'm going to give the value as 4. For others, I want to give execute also. So then I'll be using 4 plus 1, which will be 5. So I got 6, 4 and 5. So that is an octal number which I got. So I'll give the value as 6, 4 and 5. What is the file name? File 1. And if I execute this, so and if I give the list, so you can see this file 1 has been added with execute permission. Execute permission has been added to file 1. For which set of user? The user is others. Okay. Now this is how you can set permissions in absolute mode. So absolute mode, but just remember 1 will be representing execute, which is X, and 2 will be representing, we are going to represent it as W, which is write, and 4 will be representing the value which is read mode. If you want to give only read permission, I'll be giving the value as R, which is 4. If I want to give read and execute, I'll be giving the value as 5. If you want to give all the 3 permissions, it will be 4 plus 2, which is 6. 6 plus 1, it will be 7. So if I execute something like this, say if I consider I have file2 dot file2. For this file2, I'll give all the permissions to all the users. In that case, I'll be giving chmod. I'll give the value as 7, 7 and 7. If I execute this, you can see the read write mode will be given, read write permission will be given to all the users, which is file 1, right? So it should be given to, I'll change it to file 2. We'll see whether it will be given. So see, you can see file 2, it has given all the different files, all the permissions, that is read, write and execute, read, write and execute, read, write and execute. Permission is given to the file 1. Okay. So this is how we can change the permissions of different types of files using chmod command. So which is very important. This topic is very important regarding chmod. So here I'll stop the session. The next session we'll be discussing some more commands from your Unix chapter. Thank you.